Hi, with the Angela Rayner story rumbling on and appearing on BBC Newsnight, I thought it would be a good idea just to explain a little bit about capital gains tax private residence relief, because it's got a lot of people worried that it might affect them, and nobody wants to have that nasty letter from the taxman, or worse still, some bad publicity because you're a public figure. So just to set the scene, if you own just one property and you live in it as your house for all the time you own it, and you sell it, then no matter how much money you make on it, you'll pay no capital gains tax. And there's nothing you need to do with HMRC. So capital gains tax, or CGT, will not apply to you, because everything in the way of profit you've made on that property is covered by what's called private residence relief. So what is private residence relief? Well, it's a capital gains discount or relief for the gains made during a period that you owned a property and it was your main residence. So who then can be affected by this? Well, the key people who are affected by the private residence relief are people who own more than one property, and particularly if they have more than one that maybe they live in. Say they've got a holiday home, a place in France, a holiday home or a property they stay in London when they're there in business or something like that. So if that's the situation, then you need to be very careful, because the private residence relief is only available on one property. This means that if you own more than one property, it's a good idea to take specialist tax advice and actually to put in a formal written nomination to HMRC as to which property you would like to be treated as your main residence. So for example, say you buy a property in 2010, and in 2020, you decide to buy another property. If you want the 2010 property to remain your private residence for tax purposes, then it's a good idea to put in an election to HMRC stating that you wish it to be your main residence throughout. If, however, the new property is the one you'd like to be counted in future, for instance, say it's likely to rise in value more, then you would say that from 2020, I wish this second property to be treated as my main residence. That would then mean that the relief would stop on your first property. If you then sell the first property a few years later, then any gain made on it would be worked out, and some private residence relief will be available. It'll largely be based on the period of ownership and the period during which it was your main residence. So if you've owned it for 15 years and it was your main residence for 10 of those, say before you bought that second property, then 10/15ths of the gain will not be taxed, 2/3. Also, to allow people time to sell a property and maybe have bought another one before they sell the old one, HMRC will not tax any gains made in the last 9 months of ownership. So that gives you another 9 months worth of relief. But if you sell a property where you have also held other ones and you're claiming this partial private residence relief, you will have to file a special online capital gains return with HMRC. And importantly, this must be filed within 60 days of the sale. You can't just wait till you file your normal tax return. Within 60 days of the sale, you must tell HMRC about the sale, give them the broad calculations, and if there's tax due, then pay it within that 60 days from the sale. So I hope that's been useful, and I hope that people don't get into a fuddle about private residence relief and capital gains tax, which, as I say, is only an issue for people who own more than one property or who get married and then end up each owning one property. It can be a concern for them too. Thank you.